that depends on your mindset. You might be, facing some mistakes on your front line, and that might be more of where the focus is than necessarily improving quality, even though that will be a byproduct of reducing mistakes and errors. Is it filling the skills gap? A lot of, we have people here at 3HCI that have been doing this for been in the business and the industry for 25, 30 years, and their knowledge is amazing. And it's like, how do you tap what's into somebody's head and be able to instill it in somebody who's not as experienced? And you can do that on the front lines with augmented reality by being able to capture the processes of what they do and recording what they do on a step-by-step basis. So whether it's for training and filling the skills gap, or capturing the special techniques that your that your experienced employees have. And then lastly would be improving safety. And I think that everybody answered, which is good. So I will end the poll there. Thank you very much. And the top two were digital work instructions and reducing mistakes and errors. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to pass everything over to Anthony Garner. Anthony Garner is an application engineer and technical specialist for augmented reality solutions with PTC. And he's going to give us a little bit of an overview and a demo of a Vuforia solution. So Anthony, I will hand it over to you. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Rob. So like Rob was saying on the outset, Anthony Garner, I am an application engineer with the Virtual Center of Excellence in PTC, and I'll be going over the Vuforia product suite, as well as taking a deeper dive into one of our very explicit products, Vuforia Expert Capture, which is one of the tools that I think is going to cover very, very well those top two use cases around those digital work instructions and others that can be utilized for that specific situation. So first, let me go ahead and start us off with a quick 10,000-foot view of all of the products of PTC that are augmented reality related. Wherever you see Vuforia, that represents an AR product within PTC, and those AR products are divided into two, I'll say, different categories. One being solution-centric, i.e. this solves a very, very specific problem we see oftentimes in industry. And the other side is platform-centric, where we arm you with the tools to solve the problems for your much higher use case and more unique type of issues. So starting with the solution-centric side of things, where we're talking more about turnkey, very quick and very ready to go, quick time to value solutions, we have Euphoria Chalk, which allows you to connect between two parties, an expert and even multiple experts or someone else out in the field. You can connect both through a augmented reality session through phone, tablet, or wearable as necessary, and you can assist each other with any sort of issues you're actually coming up with. It's a means of actually getting help right directly at that point, and also utilizing augmented reality just so everything that you're communicating is coming across perfectly. The next one over there is Vuforia Expert Capture, and that's the one we're going to be diving even deeper into today. And that's really what allows you to capture that information that exists within your expert's mind to further scale it out to your end users who are currently out there in the field. And the process is meant to be as fluid and as high fidelity as possible. It involves just arming your expert with a wearable device, such as a HoloLens or a RealWear, capturing the process from a first-person standpoint, bringing that into a web-based, cloud-based editor where any sort of changes, any additional documentation can be added to the procedure. And then we can go ahead and publish that out to a QR code or URL. And anyone who has access to that QR code on URL on whatever device they're utilizing has access to that experience. The next one over on the solution-centric side of things, the last solution-centric is Vuforia Instruct. And what that actually does is, in certain ways, it expands the capacity of Vuforia Expert Capture to allow us to use 3D CAD information and 3D model recognition and computer vision on mobile devices in order for us to overlay the actual augmented reality instructions on its real world equivalent, so we can direct our end users' attention to exactly where it is they need to be looking and need to be working towards for performing that process. Vuforia Instruct filed a lot under inspection use cases, but it can be used in a plethora of different ways. The last two here are platform-centric approaches, and that's Vuforia Studio and Vuforia Engine. Vuforia Studio is an augmented reality authoring tool that allows you to leverage your already existing 3D CAD information in order to create augmented reality experiences that can be scaled out very easily, again, through just scanning a QR code or a URL. And it's designed to allow for any sort of subject matter expert or learning management personnel to make augmented reality experiences and get them into the hands of the users that need to see them as quickly as possible. Another big aspect of Vuforia provides is a direct connection to IoT data utilizing our IoT platform ThingWorks. So if you are doing some diagnostics on a complex machine with a large amount of gauges, if you have smart connected gauges within that machine, you can take any of that information within that machine and bring them to bear in your augmented reality experience. The last one there is Vuforia Engine, and Vuforia Engine is a software development kit that leverages the computer vision technology within your device for its maximum use. So Vuforia Engine is the backbone for all of these various products. Of course, you don't need Vuforia Engine to utilize them. And Vuforia Engine is the most powerful, most popular augmented reality platform out there. If you look onto the Apple App Store or the Google App Store, any app that uses computer vision, there's about a 75 to 80% chance that their backbone is Vuforia Engine. So without further ado, we're going to jump into talking a little bit more about Vuforia Expert Capture with a few slides before I jump into our demo for today. So the way I always like to start these out is just talking about some of the general challenges of product PTC to develop and continue to develop the solution. So the big one we have found is increased complexity. So products are becoming more complex with an increasing number of configurations and customizations. Complex and highly varied product lines means that some service technicians may work on different products every day. It's also resulted in increased complexity of the service information required to support the products. In addition, manufacturing centers are becoming more geographically dispersed and in order to meet regional demands. Another very, very big issue is the widening worker skill gap. So as manufacturing complexity rises, the workers themselves become a barrier to growth. There are two major problems. Many skilled workers are reaching retirement, leaving a significant skill gap in the manufacturing workforce. Their replacement, the millennial workforce, third-party contractors and retained workers from other industries lack experience and can be difficult to retrain. And lastly, customers increasingly demand more stringent uptime requirements, and there are highly regulated standards for safety and compliance. The solution toward these is Vuforia Expert Capture, and Vuforia Expert Capture is the fastest and easiest way to create powerful augmented reality enabled instructions that empower frontline workers. Vuforia Expert Capture provides up-to-date information on how to successfully perform tasks when and where workers need it most in the real world context in their daily work environments. And through accelerated authoring, we can save time with easy to use templates that make content creation and publishing easy and convenient. Excuse me. And Expert Capture enables customers to rapidly scale their knowledge transfer efforts from creation through deployment, empower frontline workers across a variety of supported devices, both mobile, hands-free devices like a Microsoft HoloLens or a RealWear HNT1, or even through a desktop from a learning management software. And the ability to get those most up-to-date versions out doesn't require a massive undertaking. All it simply requires is a publishing of that content. And when you need to make any sort of change to that content, all you simply need to do is hit one button to unpublish it, make your changes, then republish it, and then everyone will have the most up-to-date procedures. No needs to request manuals back from their various locations, and no needs to expend a whole amount of printing in order to get that information out there. And location awareness capabilities on Microsoft HoloLens can be leveraged to connect each step of a procedure to specific objects and locations, providing safe and accurate guidance for frontline workers. So how does Expert Capture really work? It works through a three-step process. One is the capture of the expertise, the enhancement of the expertise, and finally the scaling out of the expertise. So for capturing, the subject matter experts easily record step-by-step instructions and best practices on how to perform critical tasks, which can then be shared with new or redeployed workers for fast, efficient on-the-job guidance. Captured content is then uploaded directly from the digital eyewear into the Euphoria Editor, a web-based editing environment. Assets are unpacked from the capture and are independently accessible within the library, and templates simplify generation of those step-by-step instructions. Within the editor, it's easy to add annotations to images, clip videos, or easily replace or remove audio for such things as like localization to different areas. And publish once, and you can share cross-platform. Experiences are automatically formatted for viewing on mobile devices, 2D and 3D eyewear, such as the HoloLens and RealWear. So it can be captured through like the HoloLens and RealWear, and then it can be deployed through someone's phone or their tablet. So you don't need to purchase an entire fleet of wearables to make the most use out of expert capture. And along with that, we have enterprise access and version control, so we can track, manage, and access all the changes that have been made to a procedure. This allows us to improve collaboration amongst authors while still guaranteeing that our end users have access to the most up-to-date version of that procedure. And this all plays in that ability to scale out those deployments so that when we do come to our most refined, our most adequate version of our procedure, our end users always have that. They don't need to worry about the downtime when they don't necessarily have that. And to talk a little bit more about one of the applications that are utilizable for the end user to capture that information, we have Euphoria Vantage, which was developed for frontline workers in mind for them to go through the procedures that have been made through expert capture. It is a very intuitive and comfortable user interface that makes use of current app design best practices. So anyone who's used an app on a phone or a smartphone over the past 5 or 10 years can really easily pick up Euphoria Vantage and navigate however they need to from it. And the actual delivery of that procedure has been optimized to give them the most information in the most elegant, I'll say, case that they need to see it in. Another, I'll say, newer aspect that we have available for us is Euphoria Insight. So this provides traceability via Vantage. So we can record information that they're going through within their process if we're capturing that information of pass, fail, or any other types of information necessary for us. And we can search and retrieve all of those historical execution results. And we can easily export all those results out as a CSV in order to allow us to fill out any sort of forms that we have I'll say a smart connection to. So we have the full view of all the metadata of all the different executions within our company. So we can start to assess how these procedures are actually being performed, what's the best way to perform these procedures, and also for us to, I'll say, hyperspeed the ability to fill out those necessary forms and documentation. So with that, that is our slides out of the way. So now I'm actually going to jump into our demonstration for today. So this is going to be going over all 3 steps of the Vuforia expert capture process. We're going to start in the shoes of our subject matter expert wearing a HoloLens who's going to capture all the various steps within the procedure. Then we're going to take that raw captured data, bring that into our web-based editor and make some adjustments to it, and then we're going to publish it out. And we're going to see briefly what it will look like for an end user making use of that procedure we were just working on in Vuforia Vantage. Okay. So just a quick check. I am sharing my screen, so you should just be seeing currently a blank white page that will now start to spin up to the PTC logo. Okay. So here, like I was saying before, this is the vantage point of our subject matter expert wearing their Microsoft HoloLens. So this is going to be her capturing all the steps necessary for a medical device or a medical procedure running a blood spectrometer. So first thing she's going to do is she's just going to say start capture. So now we're going to be recording step 1 of our procedure. So for our step 1, first thing we're actually going to do is we're going to lay down a location anchor within our environment to say this is where this specific step happens. And then we're going to go to the refrigeration unit, pull out this box of calibration samples. We're also going to take a picture of that label so there's no question or ambiguity about what should be grabbed to properly perform this procedure. We're going to do a similar thing for pointing out the dilution samples that need to be done for that. And as she's going throughout that entire process, she was speaking as well as recording the actual video. So all of those assets, the video, the audio, those pictures she's taken, as well as that location marker, are all assets stored against step 1. Now, when she says next step, she's now recording step 2, and any information she captures as a part of step 2 is going to be stored essentially against step 2. And this all plays into the templatization and the ease of making these procedures for within our editing environment, which we'll get to in just a moment. So step 2 is just taking the dilution samples out of the box and then placing the box of samples back into the refrigerator just to maintain a perfectly cleanly lab. Then after that, she's going to say next step. So for step 3, we're going to lay down another location marker at our pipetter station, and we're going to walk over to the pipetter station, grab our pipetter and set that to 500 milliliters. And a big thing, of course, is her hands are completely free as she's doing this. So that gives her the freedom to do this how she would normally do this, not having to do it one-handed while holding a phone or a tablet, or not working around the film crew that she's brought into her laboratory in order to capture all this information. This is how she would do it on any other day. The only difference is she's essentially talking to a person that isn't there to capture all the valuable information. In reality, it is this easy for a subject matter expert to figure out how to capture a procedure utilizing a HoloLens or a RealWear, just understanding a few vocal commands in order to make sure it's capturing all that information. And then once we've gotten all the different steps of our procedure, she's going to take her wearable, plug it into a computer, and then she's going to upload that raw capture file into the web-based editor, which is what we're seeing here. So to the right, this is where we can actually see the steps that have been set out for the steps of that procedure. And we can also see all of the assets that we have created stored against those steps. So the video, as well as the audio and the image that we've taken as well. And at the top right, you can actually see the location markers where we've designated this specific part of this step's actually going to take place. And here in the center console, this is where we can actually see some of our already existing editing tools to see how the video actually plays out from step to step. And if I expand this out, this is where we can also see all the different assets that my company has made in relation to our expert capture procedures. So what this really lets me do is it lets me treat all of my different assets almost as a library or a Wikipedia, or I can drag and drop any of the different assets that I want to utilize for a specific procedure. So if I like how I did step 1, but I don't like how I did step 2, but my colleague did step 2 very, very well, I can take her video from step 2 and include it as a step in my procedure. So now if we move over to our blowout right there, you can actually see all the various locations that we utilize within our procedure. And also what this lets us do is if the lab is set up in different ways in different regions, we can move around the location markers so that they can still be designated to the proper places. And here to the far right, this is where we can actually see the full version and history control for our expert capture procedures. So this is where I can see who has done what in relation to this procedure, who has changed something, who has removed a different demo or removed a different asset, who's changed an asset. And here, this is where I can go ahead and refine or I have a complete and total immutable history of that procedure from when it was first uploaded into the web-based editor to when it was eventually published out. So now we're actually going to make a couple changes to some of the underlying assets that we have here within this step-by-step procedure. So now I'm going to actually go to the various images that I have available for me for creating these steps in the procedure. One of them is going to be, I'm going to choose to use a different image that's been taken for that calibration sample box. And all I need to do is just drag that and drop that into the step. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that JPEG image and I'm going to make a slight annotation onto it so that we know exactly which dilution sample bottle should be grabbed. And we can do this directly within the web-based editor itself. We could do this outside of the web-based editor and just simply upload the JPEG. It's really dealer's choice. Another thing we have the explicit capacity to do here is we can essentially cut the fat of any of the videos that we have captured as a part of our expert capture session so that we only go to the points of interest. So here, this is me trimming off some of the dead air and the unnecessary aspects of that step in order to create a new video for our step in that procedure. And one thing you've actually also see there are those remove audio and record new audio steps. What that really lets me do is it allows me to rip the audio and simply re-record that. If, say, I was working in a loud environment and I wanted to get these steps clearly across, or if I wanted to relocalize these steps for different regions and different areas. So here we're just going to create that clip. So that's the new clip that we have in relation to that specific step. So after we've gone through the process and refine our procedure to where we want it to be, then we just go ahead and publish out that procedure. And to publish that procedure is just a one-step, one-button click. So when we hit that publish button, anyone who has access to these QR codes, that URL, or the QR code, the URL that we've designated against will have access to this version of our procedure that we published out. Same thing, if we want to go back and make any sort of change to our procedure, all we need to do is simply unpublish that information, make the change, and then click the publish button again, and they're going to have access to the most up-to-date version of it. And here, if we go to our manage publish, of course, what we can also do is we can refine and control the permissions for viewership as well as editing any of our procedures. So we can refine it down to just the people who need to be seeing the steps of that procedure. So we don't need to overwhelm or possibly put our intellectual property at risk by sharing this out to the wrong personnel. So now if we look at some of the end results for our procedure capture, one of them is the ability to automatically generate a Word document using all of the static assets that we've captured, that being the text-to-speech that we actually see for each individual step, as well as the picture that were taken for that actual procedure here. And at the very bottom, you can actually see we've also included a screenshot of the schematic for the machine itself. So we can include additional secondary documentation into our step to have them readily available for our end user to go through this. In this case, it's a smaller, I'll say JPEG image. We can also go as far as including an entire document if necessary for them to simply access the visualization of right then and right there from their phone, tablet, or their wearable. And as we were saying before, we also have this available for web playback. So if I wanted to say integrate this URL into a learning management software, it's very, very easy. And the last thing we'll see here is the viewpoint from the Vantage app. So if I'm an end user, I've just scanned the QR code that's been stuck on the side of this machine with my iPad or my phone. So this is what I'm going to be served up to. And as you can see, I have access to various other different types of procedures. I can favorite them. I can go to my most recent ones. But what we're actually seeing here is this is the full step procedure for this mass spectrometer procedure. And what we see here is it's providing us all of the different assets that we've captured as a part of this procedure. That includes both the video captures as well as the audio captures and any of the actual individual photographs that have been captured as a part of this. And along with this, we didn't include this in this specific, I'll say, demonstration, but you can also include pass, fail, or confirm, I'll say, capture of information on the side of the end user. So if they're going through, say, an inspection, or if they're going through any sort of other type of procedure, they have the ability to essentially report back that information from their Vantage app. Okay. So that was the demonstration I had planned for us today. Like I was saying before, it goes through all three steps and shows just how easy it is to perform the expert capture of any of your actual, I'll say, procedures. So I'll finally wrap this up with a going back to the slide deck real quick, just to talk about the value of expert capture. So the ease of access to standardized instruction improves productivity, efficiency, and expert knowledge transfer. It's also going to increase your first-time fix rate due to improved technician efficiency. It'll cut costs in several ways by improving documentation and training time, reducing the number of repeat visits, lowers scrap and rework by reducing operator error in high-value tasks. It also allows you to clearly identify safety hazards to reduce injuries and penalties. So that was all I had planned for us to go through as far as the expert capture is concerned. If you have any, I'll say, additional interest in either expert capture or any of the other augmented reality tools, 3HTI would be a great resource to talk to get a little bit even more in depth in that. So with that, I'll just pass it back off to Rob to see if there are any questions that have come up.
Thanks, Anthony. Nicely done. So, I mean, some of the videos that we've sent out regarding augmented reality show the end result of what this demonstration was. So basically, this demonstration captured the process of a worker going step by step and showing a little bit on how the software works in being able to set up those steps. And what will happen is if a step is not adhered to in the proper manner, if you're using a RealWear lens or a HoloLens, it will start to flash and it will tell you that you're out of sequence, go back to step 3 and complete the task properly. So there's these fail safes built in so that the workers basically have no choice but to do it accurately. One of the things that I remember from this particular example that Anthony was showing how it got set up was one of the first steps was to make sure that I guess the refrigerator that the specimens were in for this I guess medical or bio company was supposed to be the first step was to check to make sure it was at a certain temperature. And if it wasn't, you had to set it at that temperature and wait a certain amount of time. So all those details can be added in using Vuforia Expert Capture. So with that, I think we're gonna end our webinar at this time. I'm gonna take control for about 3 seconds. Show taskbar. There we go. That's what I want. All right. If you have any questions, want to get in touch with us and discuss more about your processes and procedures and how to capture them, you know, we could have a 30-minute discovery session and just dig into it a little deeper. You can contact me directly by my email address here, or you can just respond to the emails that were sent to you as for the invitations for the webinar and the webinar I guess updates, because if you respond to those, they come directly to me. Or you can email us at info@3hti.com, and we can help you out. And our experts, we've been doing this for a long time. I mean, 3HTI has been in existence since 2002. We're kind of the secret sauce behind a lot of companies and their growth, almost powered by 3HTI, so to speak. And people within our organization have been doing this for, like I said before, 25, 30 years. So there's a lot of knowledge in helping companies grow and helping companies get from where they are now to where they want to be. So thank you again for attending this webinar, Anthony. I think you did a great job, and I appreciate your time and everybody's interest. Have a great day, and I will send the recording out to everybody as well. Take care, everyone.